most owners of properties may not have thought about is there is value in owning fiber optic networks. There's a reason there are billions of dollars being invested in building fiber optic networks around the country. Okay. You are in a rare position as a property owner to own a portion of that infrastructure.
If you're within 3 feet of me, we're probably talking about real estate, much to my family's chagrin. But here's the thing. Most people see 7% rates and freeze. I see opportunity. They're waiting for the perfect deal, and well, I've analyzed thousands of them, and perfect just doesn't exist. So I talk to operators across every asset class, flippers, multifamily syndicators, note investors, and whatever else is working. No sales pitches allowed, just real lessons from people actually doing it. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It is Ed Matthews again with the Real Estate Underground. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Today, we get to geek out a little bit, which I'm pretty excited about it. Being a techie, I was just talking with our guest Adam here about how we can nerd out on a whole bunch of stuff. Today, we're going to talk about real estate and actually how to help you increase your NOI. And it's something that I've looked at with regard to my own buildings. And so selfishly, I happen to meet Adam through a friend of a friend. And selfishly, I want to hear about what he's doing because I think I can use it. And so I figured I'd have him on the show and share it with you guys as well. So Adam Bell with Internet Subway, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Ed. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So for those folks who haven't discovered you online yet, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Certainly. Adam Bell, based out of Richmond, Virginia. Been here for about 25 years now. River City is a great place to be.
Yeah.
I have a long history in tech. I started I guess the best way to explain myself is a serial entrepreneur. So started as web design and developer, went into an MSP world where managed break fix and IT services for small to medium businesses. Eventually got involved in the ISP space. So working directly with multifamily properties to deliver fantastic internet service. And
Awesome.
through that journey, I learned a bunch and founded with an excellent partner, Internet Subway, which is a multifamily internet service provider that's delivering the next generation of managed Wi-Fi for multifamily communities.
Awesome.
So that's high level, man. I went through it so quick. So.
That's okay. Yeah, we're going to get into the details now. Most multifamily operators like me think about internet as like a tenant problem and especially a tenant cost, right? And one of the things that I learned about you, I've heard you say online, is that it's actually an NOI lever. And so walk me through the math on a particular deal. You can pick one, or we can talk about just a theoretical one of 200 units.
Yep.
And what does that bulk FTTU actually do for NOI? Walk me through it.
Certainly. For your listeners, let me take a step back and just set the stage as to what we're talking about exactly. So I think what we're talking about is a bulk internet service where the multifamily property owner contracts directly with an internet service provider, managed service provider like Internet Subway, to deliver internet services to every apartment, every resident in the community. And so they pay a bulk rate. That's why it's called bulk internet service. And so they get a great price for internet service for all those residents. The property then adds a fee. They could do it a number of different ways, but the way that most properties do it, to be completely transparent with the fees, is they add an internet service fee to the rent package. Fully disclosed, but they add a fee. And so let's say that they pay us $25. They might charge the resident $75 for that internet service. So per resident, per month, they're generating $50 of NOI.
Okay.
That's fantastic NOI. It's hard to beat a lift like that. And so there is often an expense that comes with installing a network that can deliver that kind of experience to the residents. And we offer where the owner can pay for that upfront. We'll install it and deliver it and it's theirs. Or we can also do it on a finance basis. So it's CapEx free. Either way, we can generate NOI for the owner, whether they're coming out of pocket or not. I would say that's what we're talking about here is this bulk internet.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that provide bulk internet. Not everyone provides experience. And what we realized at Internet Subway is that residents get the internet, but the property teams deal with it. The property owners see the financials. So there's really three distinct groups of stakeholders that are ultimately the users and the people who see the outcomes of the service that we deliver. We run a business within a business that is a multifamily community, and having respect for that has always been core to our DNA.
Yeah, I saw something. I can't remember where I saw it, but it was had something to do with managed Wi-Fi isn't all it's cracked up to be. And so I'm curious. You started to allude to it, and I want to drill into it a little bit. What do you think that industry? What do you think the industry's getting wrong? And where do you see owners burning money, thinking that they bought the right or wrong thing?
So the thing about bulk internet service contracts is they're long duration agreements. I am a big proponent of tech in general and providing the highest quality experiences that you possibly can. I'm not a proponent of giving everybody a Ferrari, but because in multifamily, the contracts are so long, 5, 7, or 10 years, the equipment that goes out is going to stay there for 5, 7, or 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it's important that you put the latest generation very late. It doesn't have to be expensive, doesn't have to be a Ferrari, but the latest generation of Wi-Fi equipment so that you can keep up with the Joneses. The particular article that you were referring to, managed Wi-Fi isn't all that it's cracked up to be, focuses on one particular point. That particular point is that most managed Wi-Fi systems from 2020 through 2025 have been delivered that systems that can deliver up to 1 gigabit per second. Okay. Now let's take a hypothetical. That scenario I gave you where the owner is delivering a 1 gigabit per second internet service in 2026, they're charging $75. That's fine. I implore you, if in 2030, do you think that they could still charge $75 in 2030 with the growth of AI, with the growth of demand, with the marketing of multi-gigabit services from the big providers around the country? I think there will be a compression in value, whether it's perceived or real, of what you can charge for 1 gigabit per second service. Yeah. The managed Wi-Fi systems that were installed 3, 4 years ago, they might have 5, 7 years left on the contract, but they could only deliver up to 1 gig. So an owner may have underwritten a contract term with $50 of NOI from day one throughout the end of the term. But if your equipment can't support anything beyond a gig, in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, you cannot charge 75. You will not make $50 of it. Right. And so that's managed Wi-Fi isn't all that it's cracked up to be. I love managed Wi-Fi. We love the experience that we can give. There are just better ways to do it today. And that's really the core of that article is next generation managed Wi-Fi solution that we've put together offers the flexibility, the upgradability, not the same price points. And so you get out of a lot of that trap that I described just now.
Yeah, it's interesting. You went exactly where I was about to go as well. And that is technology is changing so fast, right? Speed, bandwidth, all of it. And so walk me through, if I were buying a property today, right? I actually have a 2-part question. So I'm going to ask the first part about the acquisition and we'll get into the longer term stuff. So as a buyer of properties, if I'm doing an acquisition in my due diligence process, I'm looking at bulk internet as part of the process. Tell me more about the traps, the existing contracts I got to pay attention to, easements, wiring, all the stuff that I need to figure out to determine whether or not this is something that I need to either embrace, update, or worry about as part of my due diligence process.
Excellent question. That's probably the first thing you should worry about if you're looking at acquiring a property and thinking there may be some sort of bulk internet play. You need to look at the existing agreements that you have. Every property has internet service today. You would not have any residents living there if they did not have access to internet service. There is existing infrastructure in that property. There is an existing service provider in that property. The quality of the infrastructure and whether that provider will provide you with a bulk option is a different story. Yeah. So the first thing that you should do is look at that agreement. Oftentimes, it's going to be a retail agreement with a big incumbent provider, and it'll say something like, "Hey, we have the right to market to your residents, and in return for the right to market to your residents, we'll give you a percentage of the revenue that we generate, and we'll give it back to you per quarter." That's a very common retail marketing agreement that they have in place with a lot of these properties. There isn't always a revenue share depending on the property size and that sort of thing. But a retail agreement with an incumbent provider often says, we'll install this equipment, we'll maintain this network. You don't have to do anything as long as we can market to your residents and we can get what we need, that as long as we can get our customers and serve our service, then we'll give you a portion of the revenue. That makes it hands off for the property owner, but they are leaving a ton of value on the table.
Yeah. So say more about that.
So if the owner, so that's one way it could happen. The other way is that the property owner who built the property could be very smart and forward looking, and they could have invested in infrastructure, and they could have run Cat 6 and or fiber to every unit, and they might own it. In that case, they can select whatever provider they want to come in and use their infrastructure. So to more specifically answer your question, review your agreements, see who's in the building, who owns the infrastructure, and that sets the stage for whether you should pursue a bulk agreement or not. Like a small asterisk is that even if there is an agreement in place, there are often ways to work around them or to plan for when the agreement term is up.
Yeah, a lot of these have change of control type language built in. At least the smart operators are doing that. So that you sell the property, you can keep it or not as the acquirer. So hopefully that's part of it. So walk me through where you think this is going. We buy buildings, I buy buildings, and I'm minimum 5-year hold. Some of them I'm keeping forever, right? But most of them are a 5-ish year hold. And so what does connectivity look like in a well-run multifamily asset 5 years from now? And what's the bet?
Connectivity will be ubiquitous in multifamily communities throughout. The first thing to realize is that the business that is that multifamily property, the LLC, is a business. So they have IT needs. They have technology needs, and they are going to continue to implement those pieces of technology throughout the community because it increases experience, reduces operating expenses, it provides flexibility. There are so many things that technology can improve at a multifamily community, from access control to security cameras to meters and monitors. There's a world of tech that we haven't even seen yet. It's not even rolled out yet. Having an internet foundation upon which you can layer all this prop tech is incredibly important. So the other thing that I'll say that most owners of properties may not have thought about is there is value in owning fiber optic networks. There's a reason there are billions of dollars being invested in building fiber optic networks around the country. Okay. You are in a rare position as a property owner to own a portion of that infrastructure. It is an infrastructure play. So you are the last mile, and we'll build it if you don't want to own it. You can build it. There's a variety of ways, but that fiber network has value. Now, think about a property that only has coax, and that coax was installed 20 years ago. Someone wants to install fiber in that building because it is likely the last time fiber will be installed, period. 10 years from now, you have to ask, is someone else going to build more fiber if I did it 10 years ago? No. So you are in control of the destiny of the future of connectivity of that multifamily community if you are the one that installs that next fiber network. So I just want people, our listeners, to be thinking about that.
Yes. So tell me more about that. Why am I what makes me the last person who's going to install fiber? Like,
whoever does it next is likely the last person. So if there's only coax in there, the chances of anybody else doing an overbuild on top of a network that is already being run or operated, the potential return on your investment for the next person is incredibly low. And I'll put it another way. 10 years from now, at the end of a bulk contract, for someone to install another fiber network, it would probably cost 2 times as much or more, because it's 10 years from now, materials are more expensive, right? And so it is that network technically appreciates in value throughout the duration of the term.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
Got it. And yeah, and also 10 years from now, fiber optic may not be the tech, right? So
I think fiber is the tech. I think fiber probably has a 30-year lifespan at a minimum. Everything that we do today is powered by fiber. So I don't see it going away. I see it increasing in capacity, but I don't see it going away.
So it's not going the way of the CDs when the DVDs show up?
No, I don't think so. Look, wireless will be more ubiquitous,
Sure.
but it will still need to be fed by connectivity, and that
Yeah.
connectivity is going to be fiber fed somehow.
Yeah. It's not like we're going to get actually, I was just about to say, it's not like we're going to get the Wi-Fi from space, but
We are.
we
We
might.
are.
Yeah. But nevertheless, yeah, I hear you. There still needs to be a way to receive, and there still because each one of those units to catch Starlink is what we're talking about here, folks. Each one of those units to catch Elon's Wi-Fi signal costs about what, $2-3 grand last I checked.
And that's assuming that there was a way that the satellite signals could penetrate multifamily buildings. The more likely
Fair.
reality is that you would put a large satellite on the roof, and then you would still have to distribute it through the building. So you still need the fiber to get to the units.
Right. Good point. So walk me through the next step. All right. So I am a building owner. So I'm a value add guy, right? I go and I buy crappy apartment buildings from landlords who really aren't that good at their jobs. We go in, we clean everything up, and then we update everything, right? And that includes, in a lot of cases, it includes wiring, because knob and tube is still a real thing here in New England, right? And so if we're doing the wiring, might as well do the internet stuff as well. And so when I look for a partner in that, am I hiring you to provide the service, or am I also hiring you and your team to do the build out?
Both. So we will do either. If you already have infrastructure that we're capable of utilizing, we're happy to do that, right? We're not going to force CapEx down your throat if you already have the appropriate infrastructure. If you don't, then we'll come up with a plan to install what you need. And it's a collaborative process where we tour the property, we do an in-depth survey, we put together a network design, and then we talk to you and share, hey, here's what we would build, and then we build it.
Yeah. And then from a depreciation perspective, obviously, if I'm going down the CapEx route with the big, beautiful bill, that also probably helps me out from a tax perspective.
Year one is you get to take it all up front. So it looks more and more attractive to do that based on that. You get to write it off. And like I said, it actually appreciates. So you can take the depreciation on paper, but it actually will appreciate in value over time.
Yeah. So let me make sure I'm clear on that. So walk me through the appreciation factor. Help me understand.
So in 10 years from now, if I'm let me say this. If you build a fiber network in your community and you sign a bulk agreement and provide and give a company like Internet Subway the right to use your infrastructure for 10 years, at the end of 10 years, somebody wants to service that community and they want to do it with fiber. No one wants to use the legacy coax.
Right.
So if I'm a big provider, their choices were to talk to you and say, can I use your network? Which you would have the choice to do, or in which case you would get a good price because you own the network, or you could say, you could buy my network and the value of that network would be more than you paid for it because they couldn't build their own for less.
As time goes on, time value of money.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, and labor and material costs in general, they're just going to continue to grow.
Yeah, they don't go down, unfortunately. All right, cool. So let me ask you this. What question am I not asking you that I should be asking you about this? We
haven't talked about experience. We talked a lot about money, and I know that money is very important, but the experience is really our differentiator. One of the things that happens at a regular retail property is a resident moves in, they move into an apartment without internet. They got to call Verizon or Comcast or Cox and then got to wait for them to show up and do the install, right? That's not a good experience. That's the first day this resident is moving in. Also, a lot of times your property managers, they have to go and unlock a data closet or interact with the installer. There's always something that you have to deal with, right? We flip the script, right? We don't want to be a burden to the day-to-day of the property. We want to empower them to be better at their job. We built PMS integrations. Like when a resident signs a lease, you put it in Yardi, RealPage, Entrata, whatever you're using. Our system automatically invites the resident. The property manager, the leasing agent, they don't do anything. They just have to talk about, hey, you're going to get an email, activate your internet service. On the day they move in, it's ready to go. Resident doesn't have to do anything more. We consider it's hard to come to grips with, but we are successful from a resident perspective if we never hear from them.
Right.
If they never reach out to us, they move in, they live there for 12 months, they had a great time, they borrowing a house, so they're moving out. We never heard from them.
Awesome. That means they're happy.
Pat ourselves on the back. And so it's an interesting place to be where success is driven by silence.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, it's when we're taking over a building, it's interesting because we're actively pursuing all of the residents because there's a reason why the property got sold. And a lot of it has to do with challenges in the management on the management side, which means the residents aren't happy. So we're looking to build a relationship. And so those first 90 days are really important. So I want to talk to them. But once we establish, hey, we care, B, we're going to do what we say we're going to do, and then C, when stuff breaks, call us, we'll come and fix it. And because humans, right? We break stuff. But over the course of time, we've noticed that we hear from them less and less as they live in our buildings. And that is a key performance indicator of ours that we go, okay, we do check-ins, obviously, but if we're the one checking in rather than the one hearing from them, that means our strategy and our management team are doing a good job. Right. So,
Yep.
yeah.
A lot of it is communication and being upfront. Again, I mentioned that we have 3 stakeholders. It's the residents, the property teams, and the property owners and asset managers.
Yeah.
And each one of them has different needs. And we try to make it so that they don't have to come looking for information. We present the information to them and deliver the information to them periodically so that they don't have to ask questions. We're here for them if we need them, but we try to support, not drag down the communities that we work with. Consider them partners. We don't like to be considered a vendor. We like to be considered a partner because our success is tied to the property success.
Yeah. And just for clarity, I think I know the answer to the question, but I'm asking anyway. Who's supporting the end user?
We are. 100%. We don't want the property teams to have to do any of that. If a resident comes to the front desk to the leasing office and says, hey, my internet's not working, the property's response is, I'm so sorry that's happening, but you should definitely get in touch with Internet Subway if you haven't already. But that's the first thing was we reach out to us directly. We want to help. That's our goal.
You're the tier 1 help desk.
Yeah. And the beauty of the system that we have is it's amazing because we integrate with the property management software. We know who the resident is and where they live and their phone number. When they call, our support team literally knows if they're in this apartment at this community, here's who's calling, and here's the equipment that's on or offline in their unit. Nice. So we don't have to be like, hey, who are you? Where are you? What can we do for you? We're like, hey, so sorry you're having trouble. Let's see if we can help you. Yeah. And so it's just a much more prompt resolution.
That's good. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the final 5.
Sure.
I'm curious about, obviously you've been very successful in a lot of the businesses that you've created, this one in particular. And so congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
But I'm curious, at some point, the bills get paid, the kids' college education's all taken care of, the car payments are paid off, all that stuff. And nevertheless, you go to work on Monday morning. I look at that as purpose. And so I'm curious, what's that for you? What's your purpose? What do you get out of bed for on Mondays?
I like a challenge. So it's not that I set a high bar. It's that I'm always challenging myself to do more, to do better, to be better. And so every day is a new challenge, right? I love what I do because I'm very much a tech nerd, and I look forward to the moments where I can interact with the tech. So it's a fun dance to be the CEO because I have a lot of roles and responsibilities that don't put me in front of the technology. But because we're an internet service provider, I'm constantly surrounded by the things that give me energy. And so it's awesome. Just fun to do what we're doing.
Yeah. In a few months, I'll have you back and we'll geek out on AI and all that too. But that's a different show. But I hear you on that. So I'm also always interested in leaders like yourself and the mentors that they've had along the way. So I'm curious about the best advice you ever got and who gave it to you.
It probably something that came from my dad early on was that I am my harshest critic. And I tend to look down on or think less of work that I've created or put effort into when from the outside, it might shine bright. And that's just something that I've always got to think about and remind myself that I am always going to be my harshest critic. And that's part of why I stay motivated. I guess it feeds into my first response as well.
Sure. Yeah. And it's interesting. It's something I'm pretty sure I'm older than you. And one of the things that I've learned very late in life, actually, because I too am a very harsh critic of myself, is to give myself grace just a little bit. Right.
It's a good one.
And learning to do that, I'm still learning to do that. But I know that once you're aware of the problem, it becomes a little more manageable. And so I hear you on being your harshest critic. Speaking of critics, I'm curious about being a CEO of a company. You make 50 decisions a day and you hope to get 25 of them. Yeah. And I'm curious about a decision that you've made over the course of your professional career that you look back on and go, knowing what I know now, I'd love to have that one back. And what'd you do about it? How'd you handle it?
I opened a restaurant And
What were you thinking?
that wasn't the mistake. I enjoyed so much of it. Okay. The mistake was the partner that I had started it with. And it was really understanding the value that each of us was going to bring to the table. And just before you're going to strike up a long-term relationship with somebody, just make sure you know all about how it's going to be working with them going forward. And so if I could take that moment in time back, I probably would have said, you can do this on your own and you can find what you need without that person. So,
Yeah, I talk about it, and we even do this with our investors, right? We date before we get married, and especially with partners, right? And
yep.
your significant others, obviously. But there's a reason why you don't go out on a first date. Some people do, but and no judgment.
Get married the next.
And get married, go out on Thursday night, and you're married on Saturday, right? There's a reason people don't do that. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent advice. What about the way you take in information? What's the book on your virtual or physical nightstand, and who's the author? Who are you paying attention to these days?
Right now, so we're an EOS organization, an entrepreneurial operating system traction organization. We recently had our quarterly planning session, and our EOS coach recommended that we read The Confident Mind by Nate Zinzer. So I'm only a couple pages in, but that's what I'm reading right now.
Okay. I'm not aware of that book, but it's going on the reading list immediately. So here's the cool part about having a show is I get to steal all of the interesting people that come on. I get to steal their reading lists as well. So I get to create my own reading list from the people that are smarter than me reading this book. So thank you for that.
That's how I get it too, is from listening to podcasts and hearing the others' recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, you've had several successful businesses. And so I think the definition of success in our lives as we get more advanced and accomplish more and stub our toe more and get older and all that, I think the definition of success changes in our lives. And I'm curious where you are on your journey. How do you define success today?
Success today, unfortunately or unfortunately, is a day by day thing, right? I have days that feel more successful than others. And then but if the question is looking back at life, what are the things that feel like a success? It's overcoming those challenges. It's the journey. It's the things that I learned and earned and accomplished along the way. And so how do I stay motivated? And continuing to feel successful is you don't succeed all the time. So you learn from your failures and you keep pushing. And when you don't succeed, I almost feel like it's time to try harder. And so that's, again, why I like a challenge. Every day is a new one.
Yeah, love that. So when you're not saving multifamily operators from crappy internet, what do you like to do for fun?
Big foodie. So I really like, in Richmond, Virginia, there's a thriving restaurant scene. And so I really love to check out the new foods. I'm a big small plates appetizer guy. It's not uncommon to go to multiple restaurants and just try a couple of small plates in one night.
Yeah.
But,
awesome.
And then also I'm a drummer, man. So I find a lot of my free time is spent just sitting in front of a drum set with headphones on and not thinking about everything else and focusing on limb independence and playing my rudiments correctly.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I look at, I pay attention to Drumeo online, and there's a Spanish gentleman. I'm not going to get his name right, but I follow him.
He's incredible.
You know who's
unbelievable. Yeah, I wish. That's like,
yeah, I'm not going to get his name right, but marvel at how drummers play, for one thing, because I suck at it, but also the ones who are exceptional.
He's borderline unbelievable. He's like a drum machine.
Yeah, I don't think he's human. I think he's a space alien. But anyway, so if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
I've got a website. It's got all my contact info on it, adamlloydb.com. That's also my LinkedIn handle, at adamlloydb. Also, you can email me, adam@ismultifamily.com.
Awesome. Adam Bell, Internet Subway, thank you so much for joining us today. Hey, man, it was a pleasure to speak with you, and continued good fortune.
Ed, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to talk.
This has been The Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.